Hey, what's going on, everybody? David here, and back again with another video. So now we're going to be doing something a little different here in this video, and maybe this might be something that I can, do a little bit more often. I know I'm usually doing like unboxings and things like that, but I want to talk about a little bit about like the movies that I've seen recently in theaters. Now, I'm not in theaters and on streaming, given the landscape of things. Now, I'm not, gung ho completely 100% about jumping back into theater experiences, just for my comfortability, mind you. But I've kind of made the exception here and there, and still being very safe. But I figured, you know what? Let me talk about some of the movies that I've seen recently for my theater experience. In the last couple of months and things like that. But first off, Free Guy. So Free Guy, that was one of the movies that was affected by everything that was going on, starring Ryan Reynolds. I thought that, you know what, I wanted to give it a shot just because, for one, again, it's been affected. It kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And I'm like, I like Ryan Reynolds. It was kind of a no-brainer, but at the same time, I was kind of like, well, I feel weird sometimes about these movies that portray or have video game storylines in it. I was the same way about Jumanji, the newer Jumanji, when it first came out, and that turned out really well. This one, however, turned out really, really great as well. I was really surprised at how much I liked it. My son liked it. Even my wife liked it, and she's not really into those kind of movies. Ryan Reynolds is always Ryan Reynolds in a Ryan Reynolds movies. I've always said that because it's kind of true, and the same was here. But at the same time, his character was very endearing. I did dig the story that they were telling as well. And it was very sweet, at the same time. By the end of it, I was just like, ah, man, okay. Like, how can you not like this movie? How can you not like these characters? And then Mariah Carey's Fantasy was in my brain for like about a week after I saw that movie. There's a lot of Fortnite references in there, a lot of video game references like Halo and things like that. And if you are not in that video game landscape where you know what's going on with video games, you may be a little lost here and there, but thankfully for me, I was able to explain to everybody else like what NPCs meant and kind of point out certain references, like running up against the wall, continuously, or glitches happening and things like that during gameplay. But it was just a fun movie all around, and we had a great time. By the end of it, even my wife was like, wow, that was really good. So again, and that kind of, it sets the bar for, in my household anyway, sets the bar that I was like, okay, well then I can say that, yeah, it was a pretty good movie. There's a great reference towards the end of the movie. I don't want to say what it is, because if you have not seen it, then I would like for it to be a surprise for you. If you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And that made me jump out of my seat and almost like yell and stuff like that, because it was so awesome. But fantastic movie. There's also some voice cameos in there. I'm not going to say who they are, because again, you have to spot them for yourself. I feel like that's the fun part of it. But if you are curious, you could probably find them somewhere online. But yeah, great movie altogether. I would give it probably, I hate to give number stats for it, but I would say, if anything, it would have to be like an 8 out of 10. All right. Next up, we have Malignant. So that was a movie that premiered on HBO Max, that I watched on HBO Max. I didn't see it in theaters. It's a James Wan movie. And it's, in this, again, time, you don't have a lot of unique type of horror movies. I've always looked and leaned towards those unique type of horror movies. This is one of those. And it's maybe not the best out there, but it does the best job at being very, very, like I said, very, very unique and very, very original, to the point where even if it's maybe not the best movie, it's still something like, okay, cool. Like, this is new. I kind of dig this. And that's kind of how I walked into it throughout watching the movie. And then also kind of like by the end of it, I was like, wow, this was really good. Like, I could appreciate this. Nowadays, everything's just franchise based. Now, could they make a franchise out of this? Totally. James Wan has already proven that with Conjuring, Insidious, and Saw. I mean, he can make a franchise out of something very, very original, and that's the best part of it. It's very, very much that. And if you see the movie, the killer, I guess, in the movie, it's very much like a slasher flick, but with a supernatural twist to it. I'll say that. The killer in the movie has this way of walking. All right, and I after watching the movie, I saw, and if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. After watching the movie, I was looking through my phone through all these videos that I had, and apparently, like about maybe 10 months ago or so, I have to look, but my son decided to do this certain walk, this backwards walk. I'll say that. And I recorded it, and it looks eerily similar to the walk that's in the movie. And here it is. So yeah, I mean, that kind of creeped me out already as it was after watching the movie. But again, like I said, I do feel like there's room to make another a sequel, another one to this movie, and I think this could be a pretty interesting franchise if he chose to do a franchise. A pretty good franchise to explore. It's interesting and original enough to throw it out there into the ether and be like, okay, cool, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I think if I had to give this one a score, I would give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I think that would probably be reasonable enough. Next up, we have Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes, this is kind of like I guess they're trying to do like the X-Men Origins. This is going to be G.I. Joe Origins, I think, Snake Eyes. And I've always been a fan of anything G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe is just one of those popcorn type of brands and genres that you can throw a G.I. Joe movie out there and it's going to sell tickets. It is. It's very action-packed, very, very much just boom, 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 explosion, 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 fight, 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 fight. And that's the thing that kind of attracts me to it all the time. I love those kind of movies. I'm unapologetic about liking those kind of movies. Snake Eyes, though, it has a dip in story. Like, it shows exactly how he became Snake Eyes. And that's what I like the most. I wanted to see the backstory and how he got where he got. And as I was watching the movie, it made sense. It was like, okay, cool. Like, this is really good. My thing is that Snake Eyes is he's a silent assassin, essentially. And he becomes that way at some point. He's always been that way. Even in the old cartoons, he just never said anything. In this movie, however, he has a character, he has a voice, he has a face. You see Snake Eyes for who he is. My only problem with that is that they don't they explain why he becomes that, Snake Eyes. They don't explore as to why he doesn't talk anymore. And that's kind of something that I wanted them to do within that movie. Wasn't a bad movie. wasn't a great movie either. But just like the other G.I. Joe films, it's kind of like I dig them. I'll watch them just like Transformers as well. But I really do wish that I think that was the one thing that was missing, was that they didn't explore that part of the story for him, and they didn't say why he doesn't talk in the other films, unless they're possibly thinking about doing another one. Then maybe they can go into that there, and if they don't, then boo. If I had to give Snake Eyes a score, I would say 6 out of 10. Like I said, it was good action, good fun. I just wish story was a little bit more in depth. That's all. Next up, Venom: Let There Be Carnage. That was the one that I was anticipating quite a bit. Obviously, I love the first Venom film. Venom is one of my favorite characters, favorite comic characters of all time, and just knowing that they're making Venom movies has me excited. Carnage is also one of my other favorite comic characters, just because of the opposites of both of them. And Carnage is very like sadistic. He's a serial killer, things like that. So I was so excited and anticipating this movie quite a bit. So watching this movie, there was things that changed from the end credit scene of the last movie. Very obvious Cletus Cassidy's look, which I'm glad, to be honest, that they improved on, because the big curly red hair looked Carrot Top-ish, to say the least. But this movie was interesting because it kind of picked up where the other one left off, more or less. And I thought that it did a great job at telling that story. The one of the only things is that I did think that maybe it was a little too over comedic in certain aspects. The Venom symbiote tends to be the comedy of the film, which is kind of odd, the comic relief, and I kind of didn't dig that very much. I really wanted it to be a little bit more hard hitting, a little bit maybe a little bit darker. I tend to not try, I tend to try not to go that route where I'm like, well, I want a darker superhero movie, but I think in this case it probably was needed. For it being PG-13, there was a lot of language in it, which was a little bit kind of surprising. My kid was with me, so I'm like, I had to check. I'm like, this isn't rated R, right? There was a lot of language in it, but again, great movie altogether. I thought they did a great job with Carnage. He looked amazing. He was really, really cool. Venom, again, had some great moments back and forth with Carnage. I wish that there was a little bit more to it. Little bit more, like, again, story-wise, I feel like there's a connection there between them two. Father and son kind of connection that they didn't get a chance to explore just because they were trying to just boom, 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 boom. But great altogether. I don't want to give any spoilers out, but there was one part that I didn't dig quite a bit, and it was towards the end, and I feel like they kind of like, unless they figure out some other way, they kind of shut the door on this whole Venom Carnage story. So it seems like, but they kind of opened the door for another story to be told as well. So I can appreciate that, but I do love the Carnage character and Cletus Cassidy. So I'm hopeful anyway. But altogether, I would say Venom: Let There Be Carnage. If I had to give it a score, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Not a bad movie, not the best movie ever, not the best sequel, but really, really good, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Next up, we have Old. Old is an M. Night Shyamalan movie, which I've seen the trailers for it for quite a bit, and that was another one that I saw streaming. Um, I I went into it hopeful because with M. Night Shyamalan, it's kind of hit and miss sometimes. Sometimes he puts out like, a steady 1, 2, 3 movies, that are great, and then all of a sudden it's like 1, 2, 3 that are, you know. So I always got, and I hate to say it like that, but I go into his movies just being very open. I'm like, okay, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I'm still gonna have at least an entertaining, time. This one was one of those where there's a family that goes onto a beach, families and people that go onto a beach, and then something happens and everybody starts aging, and stuff goes down. And I will say it with the with M. Night Shyamalan movies, you're always waiting for that twist, right? In this case, the twist doesn't happen until towards the end of the movie. And it was a twist that was a little bit like off kilter. Like it was kind of odd, like that kind of twist. I don't want to give spoilers again, but it is one of those twists that I'm like, well, okay, you could have maybe done something a little different. Wasn't bad though. I did have a great time watching it. I did think that it had everything there, the thrills, the kills, the uniqueness of it, and that's another point I guess I want to make, is that's I think why I tend to still watch M. Night Shyamalan movies, is that there's a uniqueness about them. There's not one movie that's similar to the next one, be it like, obviously Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. All of his movies tend to be very unique in a certain way. And that's kind of what we need in horror and thrillers and things like that. So I can still appreciate watching his movies without being like completely disappointed. You know what I mean? But I would say if I had to give this movie a score, it would probably be like a 6 out of 10. It was a great and interesting story. I think the execution was a little off, but I still would appreciate it, and still, like, if somebody asked me, like, yeah, totally, watch it, because it was still good. Next up, we have Dear Evan Hansen. Dear Evan Hansen is a musical. It started off as a Broadway play, or as a play. I don't know if it was on Broadway. I think it was on Broadway. But I've seen the trailers for it for quite a while, and I will look. I'm not even gonna lie. Whenever I saw the first trailer, like my eyes wanted to sweat, because I was like, wow, I can connect with this story. Like I feel bad, like for the characters already, and then it was just a trailer, right? Watched the movie, and I feel like it was, again, great story. I thought the story was amazing. It made me care about the characters in the movie, in the story itself. I do think though that there was a hindrance that happened, and it was because the hindrance was because it was a play that they made into a movie. And sometimes in those cases it works, like Rent, that worked as a play becoming a movie, or In the Heights, that worked as a play becoming a movie. But something like Hamilton, which is amazing, it worked at being a play, and then when they filmed it as a play, being a play. I do think that this movie itself did not, for some reason, it just did not work in a play becoming a movie. I think they probably should have done the Hamilton route and filmed it as a play. The actor in it, I cannot remember his name right off the top of my head for the life of me, but he also is a bit older than what a high school kid should be, and it showed very immensely in the movie, and I kind of hurt it because whenever you get into a movie, whenever you watch a movie, you want to be taken into that story. And in watching this movie and seeing him, and it just seemed very awkward and off at times, it took me out of the story itself, the whatever they were doing, the movie, and I kept having to just kind of step back and be like, yeah, he doesn't look 15 or 16, So that was kind of maybe what hurt it a bit, and also the fact that they should have probably just filmed it like a play. I think that would have been probably a whole lot better, and it probably would have helped the movie a lot better at putting the story out there. The story was great though, again, and I appreciated it as a musical altogether. But I think that did kind of hurt it. If I had to give this a score, it's probably going to be about a 5 out of 10, unfortunately. But anyway, still a great movie. Anyway, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Again, this is just kind of like a test thing. I'm not even sure if I'm going to keep doing this, but if you guys dig it, hit that thumbs up so I know that this is something that maybe I should keep doing. But thank you guys so much. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well, because I will be doing more videos, as always. Again, getting back into the groove of things, guys. With all that being said, catch you next time.